Don Cornelius died today from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
They are immortal icons, once shaking the world with their extraordinary talents. But who could have imagined that behind the dazzling stage lights, there were agonizing pains tearing them apart? A legendary soul music figure collapsed after a fateful fall, losing both career and life. A musical genius was struck down by the disease of the century. And a hip-hop icon, who fought death twice, ultimately surrendered in agony. These are just a few of the 30 heartbreaking and regretful stories behind the spotlight. The remaining stories are even more painful. Now, brace yourselves before you witness the terminal illnesses that stole everything from them: careers, health, and even their lives. 1. T-Boz, the warrior confronting the born curse that shook the global music stage. Tyan Watkins, known as T-Boz, is a member of the legendary TLC, a girl group with millions of albums sold worldwide. With hits like No Scrubs and Waterfalls, she cemented her place in music history. But few know that behind the glamour, she faced an unrelenting enemy: sickle cell anemia. T-Boz was diagnosed with this disease at a very young age, and it quickly became the ghost haunting her throughout her life. Misshapen blood cells, deprived of oxygen, caused excruciating pain that felt like it was tearing through her bones. There were sleepless nights where she writhed in agony, sweat pouring down like rain, but no one knew. On stage, she smiled, danced, but her legs often gave way behind the curtains. At one point, doctors claimed her body couldn't handle another performance, yet T-Boz still went out, delivering passionate vocals and fiery performances, making the audience choke up when they discovered the truth. The disease took so much from her: health, opportunities, and more than once, pushed her to the edge. But it was her extraordinary willpower that helped her rise. With resilience, she learned to control her illness, change her lifestyle, and fought to raise awareness about sickle cell anemia. Her story is proof of the strength of a courageous woman, moving anyone who hears it to admiration and awe. 2. Della, Reese, the entertainment legend who fell to a body-wasting disease. Della Reese, a legendary singer and actress famous for her role in Touched by an Angel, was once a shining symbol of American entertainment. With a career spanning decades, she was beloved not only for her soulful voice but also for her deeply human roles. Yet behind the stage lights, she silently endured a pain no one could understand: type 2 diabetes. This disease was no small challenge, but a never-ending nightmare that slowly destroyed her body. Della faced constant, sharp pain, and her legs lost feeling to the point where she could no longer walk without a wheelchair. Cardiovascular complications made each heartbeat feel like a crushing weight, draining her energy. Once a vibrant woman, now Della lived with the haunting fear of her declining health. Every public appearance had her hiding the constant ache, always trying to keep a smile. But diabetes would not relent, slowly pulling her away from the stage, forcing her to give up on the dream of giving more. Perhaps the relentless pressure of the entertainment industry, the non-stop schedules, and the competitive environment contributed to her deteriorating health. Stress, poor eating habits, and a sedentary lifestyle made the disease even worse. Della Reese fought until her last breath, but this disease took everything: her health, her career, and her personal happiness. In the end, her life closed in pain, but the image of the resilient artist remains forever etched in the hearts of her fans. 3. Morris Day, the funk music legend facing the slow death sentence. Morris Day, the legendary leader of the time, was the shining symbol of 1980s funk music. With his natural talent and captivating stage presence, he created iconic hits like Jungle Love and The Bird, becoming an inspiration for an entire generation of artists. But that dazzling light slowly faded as he confronted Parkinson's disease, a shapeless yet ruthlessly terrifying enemy. This disease was like a slow death sentence, robbing Morris of the ability to control his body, which he had once used as his most powerful weapon on stage. Uncontrollable tremors made every step a challenge. His legs, once making audiences stand and sit in awe, now wobbled as though they might collapse. From high-energy performances, he had to force every move, every note, while his soul wrestled with whether to give up or continue the passion. With each passing day, Morris faced the crushing feeling of helplessness as his body no longer obeyed him. While Parkinson's wasn't directly caused by his career, it's believed that the pressures of work and decades of stress may have accelerated the progression of the disease. The cutthroat music industry didn't allow him to slow down, forcing him to push himself to the limit. Even when his body was on the brink of exhaustion, Morris stood firm on stage, as if proving that his spirit would never give in to the cruel disease. But in the end, harsh reality forced him to step away from the spotlight, the place that had once been his whole life and soul. 4. Sharon Jones, the soul icon in a death struggle with bile duct cancer. Sharon Jones, the legendary voice of Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings, redefined soul music with her fierce voice and irresistible presence. Tragically, after decades of fighting to be recognized in a competitive music industry, in 2013, when her career reached its peak, she was diagnosed with bile duct cancer. Bile duct cancer attacked her like a violent storm, destroying both her body and mind day by day. The lengthy chemotherapy sessions drained her strength, leaving persistent, unbearable pain that robbed her of sleep. But Sharon refused to give in. While her body weakened, she still took to the stage, despite the pain that seemed to stab through every cell. Every song, every note, was a battle, as if Sharon was singing to fight against death itself. The audience only saw her smile on stage, but behind the glimmer was endless coughing, a frail body covered in skin and bones. Despite knowing the inevitable outcome, Sharon never gave up. She clung to music, the only thing that kept her alive during those long, painful nights. By 2016, after 3 years of fighting, the cruel disease took everything. Sharon passed away, leaving behind an immortal musical legacy. But her final years of suffering will forever serve as a painful reminder of the devastating power of cancer. 5. Curtis Mayfield, the soul legend and the fateful fall. Curtis Mayfield, the great soul and funk icon, was behind classic hits like Superfly and People Get Ready. With extraordinary talent, he left an indelible mark on music history. But cruel fate took away his glow in 1990. A horrific accident during a performance caused a stage light rig to fall directly on him, leaving Curtis paralyzed from the neck down. A legendary career, once seemingly unstoppable, now stood at the edge of the abyss. The brilliant days on stage faded away, leaving only a Curtis trapped in a body he could no longer control. He could no longer walk, could not even hold a pen, but his love for music still burned brightly. Curtis continued composing, each note infused with pain, but also hope. More heartbreaking, those years weren't only about the accident. Diabetes silently crept in, silently destroying his already fragile health. His body grew weaker, complications forced him to face death's approach. In 1999, Curtis Mayfield took his final breath, leaving behind a legacy of music that could never be erased. He was not only a great artist but also a symbol of resilience, a soul that never surrendered to adversity. 6. Fela Kuti, a musical genius struck down by the disease of the century. Fela Kuti, the Nigerian music legend, is the creator of the Afrobeat genre and a relentless political warrior. He shook the world with his powerful music and messages against oppression. However, despite his ability to challenge dictatorial regimes, Fela could not defeat the silent enemy within his body, the AIDS virus. In the later years of his life, Fela's health deteriorated. This cruel disease not only ravaged his body but also drained his once boundless energy. His body withered, and persistent fevers and agonizing pain prevented him from performing like before. But even at the edge of the abyss, Fela fought on, trying to step onto the stage, each step feeling like a life-or-death battle. He continued to fight, not for himself, but for his music and unyielding beliefs. But the disease did not relent. In 1997, Fela took his last breath, leaving the world in deep loss and sorrow. His death may have been a consequence of his free and open lifestyle, particularly his romantic relationships throughout his vibrant career. Additionally, the stress from endless political struggles may have also weakened his body. But even in death, Fela Kuti's name lives on, a timeless flame of freedom and music. 7. Teddy Pendergrass, a shining star's life shattered by an accident. Teddy Pendergrass, the golden voice behind the famous R&B love songs of the 1970s and 1980s, was an icon of soul and R&B music. But in 1982, a tragic car accident robbed him of his ability to move, marking not just the end of a great career, but a promising life ahead. After the accident, Teddy had to live dependent on a wheelchair. The humiliation and bitterness of seeing a once glorious music star now reduced to a shadow of himself shattered his heart. From a man who captivated millions of fans, he became someone who had to fight a paralyzed body each day, with the emotional pain often greater than the physical. Though he tried to return to the stage, the shine of his past glory could never be recaptured. His career would never be the same, as the lively concert nights were now mere faint memories. But it didn't end there. In 2010, Teddy faced a new enemy, colon cancer. This vicious disease tortured him to the point of unbearable agony, plunging him into extreme pain. When he passed away, the music world lost one of its legendary voices, but it also marked the tragic end of a life that could never return to its former splendor. 8. Don Cornelius, a cultural icon's fall in the midst of excruciating inner tragedy. Don Cornelius, the creator and host of Soul Train, created one of the greatest music shows in American history. With over 30 years of dedication, he changed the music industry, bringing R&B and soul rhythms to the masses. But in his final years, Don was no longer the strong man we once knew. Depression hit Don like a devastating storm, tearing apart all his beliefs and hopes. Sleepless nights and dark thoughts consumed him, leading him further into isolation and despair. After all the greatness he had built, Don still faced the invisible collapse of himself. The relentless pressures of his work, the weight of loneliness, and financial troubles all slowly eroded his mind. Then, in a moment of ultimate pain and solitude, Don chose to end it all. His death in 2012 wasn't just the loss of a great person, but also the end of a musical icon. Although Soul Train will forever leave an indelible mark, Don's life, filled with both glory and suffering, ended tragically. 9. Phife Dawg, a hip-hop legend slowly consumed by diabetes. Phife Dawg, one of hip-hop's greatest icons, brought explosive beats to life with A Tribe Called Quest. From a young age, he dominated the stage, making millions of people groove to his beats. But behind that spotlight was a life full of tragedies, leading him to face unimaginable challenges. Type 1 diabetes silently ravaged Phife Dawg from an early age, forcing him to live in constant fear for his health and follow strict dietary routines. However, his work environment, long tours, erratic schedules, and unhealthy eating habits may have intensified the difficulty of managing his diabetes. The nightmare didn't end with controlling the disease. Severe kidney failure, constant fatigue, and other horrific complications led him to undergo a kidney transplant, though there was still a glimmer of hope. Sadly, even after surviving surgery, Phife's health continued to decline. He had to withdraw from his career, abandoning the stage that was once his only light. In 2016, when the disease had taken away his last bit of life, Phife passed away, leaving a permanent void in the hearts of his fans and the hip-hop community. 10. Bernie Worrell, a funk legend battles horrific cancer. Bernie Worrell, one of funk music's musical geniuses, captivated the world with his wild and creative rhythms. As a key member of Parliament Funkadelic, he helped shape an era of musical brilliance. But in 2016, while his career was still flourishing, a devastating blow struck. Bernie was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. This cruel disease, like the scythe of death, threatened to take everything from him. The cancer turned Bernie from an energetic artist into a man in excruciating pain. His body, once a symbol of boundless creativity, became a battlefield drenched in agonizing pain. The torment wasn't just physical but mental, as the dreams and musical creations he had once nurtured were now only memories. Despite his valiant fight, the disease was too brutal, forcing him to abandon all musical activities. His once magical keyboard, which created mesmerizing melodies, now produced only silence, reminding everyone of his brilliant yet tragic moments. Finally, in late 2016, Bernie Worrell left this world, leaving an irreplaceable void in the hearts of music lovers and the funk culture. Perhaps the stress-filled environment of the music industry, with constant tours, contributed to Bernie's weakened health, making him an easy target for this deadly disease, an outcome no one wished for. 11. Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, drowned in the tragedy of pancreatic cancer. Aretha Franklin, the music legend who shook the world with hits like Respect and Natural Woman, was a symbol of strength and class. She won 18 Grammy Awards and had an immense influence throughout her illustrious career. But in 2010, Aretha faced the biggest shock of her life: pancreatic cancer. This disease ravaged both her body and spirit, preventing Aretha from continuing to shine on stage. Many times, she had to step back from her work due to unbearable pain and extreme exhaustion. She fought, but in the end, in 2018, Aretha passed away, leaving an immense void in the hearts of millions of music fans. Pancreatic cancer took not only her health but also her dreams. 12. Billie Holiday, A Tragic Life, a legendary voice destroyed by alcohol. Billie Holiday, also known as Lady Day, is one of the greatest legends of jazz music. Hits like Strange Fruit and God Bless the Child made her a musical icon. But behind these emotionally charged melodies was a life of suffering. Cirrhosis, a disease brought on by her alcohol and drug abuse, gradually eroded her ability to perform. Illness stole Billie's health, forcing her to give up the performances she once lived for. Despite her best efforts, she could not withstand the torment of the disease. Her death in 1959 at just 44 years old was not only a huge loss for music but also the tragic end to a life ravaged by addiction. Alcohol and drugs, once her escape from the pressures of life, had destroyed her health and ultimately claimed the life of Lady Day. 13. Ella Fitzgerald, the First Lady of Jazz, from amputation to death. Ella Fitzgerald, the First Lady of Jazz, is a musical legend known for songs like Summertime and Dream a Little Dream of Me. She captivated the world with her enchanting voice, but behind that glamour was a life of tragedy. The cruel disease of diabetes stole her health and changed her life forever. The excruciating pain, the unimaginable exhaustion, forced her to face a brutal decision: amputating both legs. The legs that once danced gracefully on stage were no more. Yet, Ella's fighting spirit never surrendered. She continued to sing, but each note echoed in pain and despair. Finally, in 1996, Ella passed away, leaving behind a great musical legacy but also a tragic story of how illness destroyed her life. 14. Lena Horne, the movie star crushed by a heart disease. Lena Horne, the legendary film and jazz star, known for the song Stormy Weather, was a shining star in the entertainment world. But behind that brilliance, she fought an evil heart disease, a battle no one could have imagined. At the time, the entertainment industry was rife with racism and discrimination, which kept her under constant pressure. The stress of her career, along with her overwhelming workload, might have contributed to her heart disease. Despite reaching great heights, Lena could not conquer her illness. Her heart disease gradually took away her ability to perform, leaving loneliness and pain to dominate the life of the famous artist. Unable to continue burning brightly on stage, Lena had to say goodbye to her illustrious career, but her love for music remained in her heart. Lena Horne passed away in 2010, leaving behind an immense void in the hearts of her fans. 15. Mahalia Jackson, the Queen of Gospel, crushed by the pressure of her heart. Mahalia Jackson, the Queen of Gospel, won the hearts of millions with songs like Move On Up a Little Higher, becoming an irreplaceable music icon. But behind her glorious career was a relentless fight. Diabetes and heart disease gradually took over her body, preventing her from maintaining the health needed to keep lighting up the stage. Though her music still burned in her heart, the pain from her labored breathing and worsening heart failure left her too weak to stand. Mahalia had to step away from the stage lights, but her music lived on in the hearts of her fans. She passed away in 1972, leaving a profound sorrow, but her music and spirit endure through time. 16. Barry White, the King of Love, dies in agony. Barry White, known as the Walrus of Love, captured the hearts of millions with timeless love songs like You're the First, The Last, My Everything. However, behind that seductive voice was a body slowly being destroyed by a silent disease, high blood pressure. A busy life in the music industry, endless touring, and the pressure to maintain an image placed a heavy burden on Barry. The disease silently attacked his body, causing his blood pressure to spiral out of control. Despite his best efforts to maintain his legendary image, his health could not withstand the internal devastation. From a once adoring star, he became a painful figure, struggling with kidney failure during prolonged hospital stays. Barry White passed away in 2003, at just 58 years old. His death left an eternal sadness, a painful warning about the cost of neglecting one's health. 17. Richard Pryor, from stage conqueror to victim of disease. Richard Pryor, the comedy legend known for iconic roles in films like Stir Crazy, made the whole world laugh. But few knew that behind those laughs was a silent warrior facing the invisible enemy of multiple sclerosis, MS, a cruel disease destroying his nerve cells. This devastating illness not only attacked his body but also shattered the joy of life he had dedicated his entire career to. MS caused Pryor's body to lose control, robbing him of his ability to move and the simple pleasures of life. The excruciating pain and seizures left him unable to perform on stage. This disease turned a once strong, sharp man into a weak shadow of himself, unable to continue doing what he loved. But he never gave up. Pryor fought to the very end, leaving behind an invaluable comedic legacy. His death in 2005 was a painful shock, but his laughter will live on forever. 18. Toni Braxton, a golden voice facing life or death battles. Toni Braxton, the queen of R&B music with timeless hits like Unbreak My Heart and Breathe Again, not only won fans' hearts with her talent but also with her resilience in the face of an invisible enemy, systemic lupus erythematosus. This autoimmune disease attacked her body, causing her immune system to turn against its own healthy cells, severely damaging her internal organs. The relentless pressure from her career in the music industry, combined with a stressful lifestyle and lack of self-care, worsened Toni's condition. The stress triggered flare-ups of the disease, pushing her into a life-or-death battle. These flare-ups forced Toni to cut back on her performance schedule, but she never gave up. Despite the toll the disease took on her health, she continued to shine with unwavering strength. Toni Braxton became a symbol of mental toughness, fighting relentlessly, overcoming the storm of illness, and maintaining her place in the hearts of her fans. 19. Minnie Riperton, a heavenly voice lost to cancer at just 20. Minnie Riperton, the owner of a mesmerizing high-pitched voice in the unforgettable song Loving You, dedicated her life to music and captured the hearts of millions of fans. But in her 20s, just as her career was soaring, an evil disease suddenly struck: breast cancer. The illness not only took her health but also forced her to endure painful treatments. Minnie was diagnosed with breast cancer at just 20 years old, far too young to face such a cruel disease. But despite the chemotherapy and the physical pain, she never gave up. She continued to sing and perform until her last breath in 1979 at the age of 31. Minnie Riperton's story is a testament to the strength and perseverance of a woman who never succumbed to fate. 20. Tammi Terrell, a shining star shattered in her 20s. Tammi Terrell, a young star with immense potential, known for her timeless duets with Marvin Gaye, was at the peak of her career with hits like Ain't No Mountain High Enough when tragedy struck. Just over 20 years old, she was faced with a relentless enemy, a brain tumor. The constant pain left her unable to perform, even though her heart still longed to sing sweet melodies. The illness quickly took her health, and the painful treatments felt like a nightmare. We can never be sure what caused this cruel disease, but no matter the cause, the heartbreaking outcome was inevitable. Tammi passed away at only 24, leaving behind a promising musical career unfinished and an immense sorrow among her fans. 21. Donny Hathaway, a talented star struggling with mental illness. Donny Hathaway, with his soulful voice and timeless songs like A Song for You and This Christmas, was a true music icon. But behind those legendary performances, a devastating illness was quietly destroying his life and career. Schizophrenia, a dangerous disease, began to surround Donny from a young age. Panic attacks, mental breakdowns, and constant instability relentlessly attacked him, turning each day into an inescapable battle. Although he never gave up on music, illness gradually took his health and clarity. Caught in ongoing mental crises, Donny couldn't bear the overwhelming pressure from his work, personal life, and psychological burdens. Treatments were ineffective, and in 1979, at just 33 years old, he tragically died by jumping from a hotel balcony, leaving behind a career that was far from complete. 22. Florence Ballard, a Motown star, dies in solitude. Florence Ballard, one of the shining members of the Supremes, the legendary Motown group, was once a symbol of 60s music. However, after leaving the group, her life was haunted by addiction and financial crisis. From a star shining bright, she quietly sank into alcohol, trying to forget the pain of a career that had spiraled downward and a lonely life. With a ruined career and mounting financial problems, Florence turned to alcohol as an escape from life's bitterness. While the remaining members of the Supremes continued to shine, she was buried in loneliness. No one could help her overcome her mental and health crises. Finally, in 1976, she passed away suddenly at 32, with her musical dreams shattered. 23. Phyllis Hyman, shining on the outside, ruined on the inside. Phyllis Hyman, a talented R&B singer with massive hits like You Know How to Love Me, was a bright star in the music scene of the 80s and 90s. But behind that glittering image, she was locked in a relentless battle with a terrible mental illness, bipolar disorder. Extreme manic episodes followed by deep depression turned her life into a never-ending spiral with no escape. With a rising career but a broken psyche, Phyllis couldn't overcome the mental burden. The pressure from the entertainment industry, combined with a lack of psychological support, made it impossible for her to face her condition. In 1995, at the age of 45, Phyllis Hyman tragically decided to end her life in despair. 24. Heavy D, a legendary rapper secretly fighting heart disease. Heavy D, the legendary rapper with hits like Now That We Found Love, ruled the music world with his unique style. But behind this success, he was quietly battling heart disease. This cruel illness was slowly destroying his body. Despite continuing to perform, Heavy D's health was deteriorating, and frequent hospitalizations became a constant nightmare. In 2011, at just 44 years old, he suddenly passed away, leaving a huge void in the hearts of his fans. The pressures of his career, combined with a lack of self-care, led to this painful end, making his untapped potential a tragic loss. 25. Gregory Hines, a tap dance legend facing death. Gregory Hines, whose name was synonymous with legendary tap dancing and memorable performances, mesmerized the world with his unparalleled talent. But behind his incredible achievements, he was fighting an unbeatable enemy, liver cancer. This horrific disease not only extinguished Hines' artistic dreams but also turned his final months into a brutal battle. Each round of chemotherapy, each agonizing pain, was a savage challenge, slowly draining his life. In 2003, Gregory Hines passed away, leaving a deep scar in the arts world. 26. Bernie Mac, the comedic star, dies in painful tears. Bernie Mac, who lit up the screen with The Bernie Mac Show and Ocean's 11, conquered millions of viewers with his infectious laughter and unique style. But behind those smiles was a nightmare called sarcoidosis. Sarcoidosis, an autoimmune disease that causes inflammation of organs, especially the lungs, made Bernie Mac endure excruciating pain. His health gradually worsened, but on stage, he remained a symbol of joy and resilience. Though he tried to maintain his strong presence on screen, Bernie Mac couldn't fight off the persistent cough, the mounting fatigue, and the relentless battle. Ultimately, in 2008, his sudden death left an irreplaceable void. 27. Maurice White, a music legend facing a life-or-death battle. Maurice White, founder of Earth, Wind and Fire, with legendary hits like September, brought music into the hearts of millions of fans. But few knew that behind this brilliance, he was fighting a devastating disease, Parkinson's disease. Once a symbol of energetic dance moves, he now faced uncontrollable tremors that paralyzed his body. Parkinson stole the passion for music he had spent his life building. Despite trying to maintain an optimistic spirit, illness slowly pulled him away from the spotlight. In 2016, Maurice White passed away, leaving a permanent void in the music world. 28. Ruby Dee, an artistic icon in decline. Ruby Dee, a courageous woman who dedicated her life to fighting for social justice and creating art, became an irreplaceable symbol in the hearts of the public from the early days of her successful film career. However, Ruby Dee's strength had to surrender to an invisible enemy, old age. In her later years, both her body and mind gradually weakened, leaving her without the energy to continue contributing to the arts and community activities. Her steps grew more difficult, mornings became a challenge, and even her once powerful voice began to fade with time. She withdrew from the vibrant world to which she had given so much, making way for the next generation. In 2014, at the age of 91, Ruby Dee passed away, leaving behind a magnificent yet bittersweet legacy. 29. Nate Dogg, a legendary voice fighting stroke. Nate Dogg, the man behind legendary hits like Regulate, devoted his life to hip-hop music with his soulful, emotional voice. But suddenly, his life was turned upside down by two devastating strokes. From a shining star, he fell into a life-and-death struggle as the strokes stole his ability to perform, destroying his unfulfilled dreams. The voice that the world once adored became a source of pain. The following days were filled with suffering as Nate Dogg's health continued to deteriorate, taking away the soaring moments that once captivated his fans. Despite his strong fight, in 2011, at 41, Nate Dogg passed away, leaving the world in deep mourning. His death was not only the loss of a legendary voice but also a reminder that life is fragile, and beautiful moments can be taken away in an instant. 30. Alvin Ailey, a dance legend brought down by excruciating pain. Alvin Ailey, the founder of Alvin Ailey Dance Theater and creator of Revelations, was an irreplaceable icon of modern dance. But behind his powerful moves and stunning performances, there lies a heartbreaking story of the devastation caused by illness. Ailey's health, once the pinnacle of physical strength, began to weaken steadily, weighing heavily on both his body and mind. Sleepless nights from excruciating pain made him feel as though he were imprisoned within his own body. His resilience could not withstand the relentless destruction of his health. Despite his efforts to stay engaged in the work he loved, his declining health prevented him from continuing. Ultimately, in 1989, Alvin Ailey passed away, taking with him dreams and works left unfinished, leaving behind a valuable but tragic legacy. Life can change in an instant, and our shining stars, once great icons, have faced insurmountable waves. The 30 names in today's video had to step away from the spotlight, not because they lacked talent, but because illness robbed them of their health, dreams, and even their lives. Do these heartbreaking stories make your heart ache as you think about the fragility of life? Share your feelings by commenting below the video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more hidden stories behind the glittering world of Hollywood.